Greetings, welcome back to the Man Cave for another episode of Man Cave Meals. Today we're going to do a little product review on something I've been looking forward to trying for a long time. This is the Dorkfood Sous Vide temperature controller. This sous vide technique of cooking is a little different from what we do around here normally, but we're going to talk about it and we're going to try it out today with this device. So let's have a look at this. This controller is very well built. It's in a nice heavy duty plastic housing, and you've got two items here. You've got a power cord that plugs into the wall, and you've got a temperature probe. This temperature probe is nicely water sealed, which is very good for what we're going to be doing. This device is used to control your heat source, and you can use an item like a crock pot, a rice cooker, or even a small electric burner. And the way this works is you plug your controller into the wall, and then you plug your heating device, whether it be a crock pot, rice cooker, or even, like I said, an electric burner. You plug it into the back side of this, and then you fill it with water, and then you submerge your temperature probe in the water. And what this does is it allows us to cook something like what we're going to do today. Is we're going to do a steak. I've got a ribeye steak set aside, and we're going to cook a perfect medium rare steak by seasoning that steak and then vacuum sealing it. And once it's vacuum sealed, we're going to cook it in the water bath for 60 to 90 minutes until it's actually done. And then we're going to take it off and sear it on each side. But the way this controller works is, like I said, you plug everything in, and it's got a very nice electronic keypad here where we will set the temperature. So we're going to use a crock pot today, so let's get the crock pot set up and then I'll show you how this is going to work. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is get some hot water in the crock pot. I have preheated some water. If you're using a crock pot, you'll probably be a little bit better off preheating your water, because this ceramic crock takes a while to absorb the heat, and it'll take it a little while to come up to temperature. So we're going to put the lid on that, and then we'll set up the sous vide controller, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, the first thing we want to do is set the controller, and you're going to press and hold the set button until the temperature starts flashing. And the up and down buttons allow you to control your temperature setting. So since I'm going to cook a medium rare ribeye here today, I'm going to set my temperature for 130 degrees, because a medium rare is done at 130 to 135, and we want to be on the low end of that because we're going to sear it off on the grill after we're done. So when you get that temperature set, you just hit the set button again, and the controller sets up for 130, and then it'll show you what your ambient temperature is, which is 97 degrees here. And the next thing we're going to do is put the temperature probe from the controller into the water that's in the crock pot. We're just going to put it through the lid and let it hang in the water. And now that we have everything hooked up, we want to turn the crock pot on to high. And what happens here is the Dorkfood controller controls this crock pot. It knows by the temperature probe that the water's not up to temp yet, so it's going to turn the crock pot, it's going to turn the power to the crock pot on and off until we get up to our desired temperature. And this is another item where you want low technology. Some of the newer crock pots that have the electronic controls don't work as well, or they won't work for this because they won't allow the controller to turn it on and off. So you want to make sure you get one of these manual ones if you want to do this. So what we do now is just wait until our water gets up to temp, and while that's happening, I'm going to get my steak ready, and then I'll bring it back and I'll show you what we're going to do when we get ready to put it in. Alrighty, our sous vide bath is up to 130 degrees, and I have a nice fat ribeye here that I have seasoned up and put in my vacuum seal bag. So we're going to lift the lid on the water bath, and we're going to put our steak right in the water and put our temperature controller, or our thermometer, right back in. and kind of keep it in the middle somewhere. Put the lid back on, and we're going to let this guy go for 30. Actually, we're going to let it go for about 90 minutes. It's recommended on a regular steak to go for about an hour on this, but this is a really thick steak. And that's another wonderful thing about the sous vide bath. You can leave it in there longer. You could leave it in there for several hours, 4 hours even if you wanted to. So we'll be back about 90 minutes or so, and we're going to sear this off and have a look at it. We've got a storm getting ready to roll through, which is pretty normal these days around here, so we'll be back. Okay folks, we're a little over 2 hours in. The weather here has been a little tricky today, so I've let it go for 2 hours. We're going to open up this bag. Our steak is now perfectly cooked as far as medium rare is concerned, but what we're going to do to finish this off is we're going to want to put a sear on the outside of it. So I've got the grill warmed up, and I'm just going to dump this guy right out on my cutting board here. I've got the grill warmed up, and we're going to finish that guy off with a nice, really hot sear. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is lay down just a little bit of clarified butter, and then we're going to toss that steak on. Let it sear super hot for about a minute on each side. Okay, after the first minute, we're going to flip it over and give it another sear. Okay, and after you get your sear where you want it, it's time to take it off. So we're going to pull this guy off and have a look. Okay folks, I've sliced this guy right down the middle, and as you can see here, we have what looks like to me a perfect, absolutely perfect medium rare. It's only brown around the very thin outer edges, and it's cooked very evenly all the way through this meat. So let's have a quick taste of this and see what it tastes like. And it's super tender. You can see it just kind of falls apart. It's kind of the equivalent of slow cooking. Oh, it's deliciously tender. Absolutely perfectly cooked. Seasoning is important on this, and while I'm going to take a break here to eat, I'll be back in a moment and we'll talk about this and wrap it up. Okay, well, I just kind of tore into about half of that steak, saving the rest of it for later, but let me tell you, the steak was super tender. It was as tender as any steak I've ever cooked. It was very evenly cooked, and as you know, I typically grill things like this. I've never tried this technique. I'm very impressed with it. The flavor was outstanding because, you know, I seasoned that steak. I used some salt and pepper on each side and a little bit of McCormick's Montreal Steak seasoning on that steak before I put it in the vacuum seal bag to let it cook in the water bath. The flavor of the steak was fantastic. It was outstanding. Now, that being said, there's a little difference. There's a little bit of a difference between the flavor of a steak cooked this way and a steak cooked completely on the grill. Some of the charcoal or smoke flavor that you get on the steak using this particular cooking technique was not there, but there are ways that I'm thinking about you can do that, and the next time I do this, I'm going to implement maybe a little bit of a cold smoking process on the steak before I go to the sous vide bath, and I think I can probably bring that smoke flavor to that meat and still use this technique for cooking. This controller worked phenomenally well, and once your sous vide bath is up to temperature and this controller is maintaining it, it doesn't move. The temperature doesn't fluctuate more than 1 degree one way or the other throughout the entire process, except for when you put the meat in. When you put the colder meat in that's vacuum sealed, that's like dropping an ice cube in almost. It cools the water down, but the Dorkfood controller brings it right back. It doesn't take it very long, and you just, like I said, let it go. And with my case today, you know, I ended up battling a thunderstorm out here today, so I ended up going for 2 hours instead of an hour and a half. But with this technique, I have no doubt that I could have left that there for 4 or 5 hours with no problem, still brought it out, seared it off on the grill, and come up with the same results that we just got. So like I said, I'm very impressed with this. And as some of you know who follow my channel, my girlfriend requires her steaks to be well done, and I know that's unfortunate, but I am going to use this to see if I can make her the perfect well done steak, and do a water bath at 165 degrees, cook her steak, and then sear it off, and see if we can come up with something that's very juicy and tender still, even cooked at that level. So I have no doubt that this can do it, and I'll report back to you when I do that, just to see how well this works. I can't really think of anything else I want to say about the Dorkfood controller right now, other than the fact that it did a fantastic job on the steak that we just made. Check my video description, and I'll give you a link to the website where this product is available, and you should also check out their Facebook page. I'll give you a link to that as well. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this video review on the Dorkfood Sous Vide controller, but stay tuned to my channel, because you're going to see this guy pop back up again. We're going to do a lot of different things with this besides meat. We're going to cook some other things with it and cook some other meats. So until next time, Man Cave Meals.